I had barely finished breakfast when I spotted her, Karen, clipboard in hand, marching toward my driveway with the kind of determination only HOA officials possess when they think rules are on their side. "This tractor has got to go," she barked at me, eyes narrowed. "It's illegal according to HOA regulations. Remove it immediately, or face fines." I blinked, nearly choking on my coffee. My tractor, my pride and livelihood, had been parked perfectly in my yard for years. Before I tell you how this unfolded, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the twist that left Karen speechless and the neighborhood cheering. My life had always revolved around hard work and honesty. Owning a small farm outside the neighborhood gave me independence, and my tractor was essential for daily chores. It was fully registered, insured, and compliant with all county and local ordinances. Yet Karen, seemingly unaware of any legal reality outside the HOA handbook, decided it was her mission to disrupt my life. "Karen," I said, keeping my voice calm, "the tractor is registered, insured, and fully legal. I believe you're overstepping your authority." Her lips curled into a smirk. "Overstepping? This is my duty. You have 48 hours to remove it, or I will escalate it to the board, and fines will follow." I let her words hang for a moment. The audacity was remarkable. Here was someone thinking that a neighborhood regulation could override state law and county registration. I calmly dialed my brother, who happened to be the local sheriff. "Hey," I whispered, "I might need your help if Karen tries anything funny with the tractor." By mid-morning, Karen had posted a notice on my gate and was pacing back and forth, muttering about illegal property and community standards. Neighbors peeked through fences, some stifling laughter at her intensity. I knew this was the perfect setup for a little, let's call it poetic justice. I took a few photos of the notice, along with the tractor's registration and my HOA compliance records. Then, I leaned back and waited. Patience was key. Karen thrived on threats and intimidation. A calm, calculated response would completely unnerve her. By afternoon, she was fuming. "I'll show you," she muttered, glaring at me. "I'll have this tractor removed by tomorrow." I smiled politely and replied, "Please, take your time. I've double-checked all legal requirements. You won't find any violations." Later that day, I saw the sheriff's car pull into the driveway. Karen stiffened, her eyes widening as she recognized him. "What's this?" she demanded. "Good afternoon, Karen," my brother said, stepping out with a professional smile. "I received a call regarding a potential unauthorized vehicle. Mind if I take a look?" Karen sputtered. "Unauthorized? The tractor, right?" my brother interrupted, pointing toward the driveway. "But technically, your own vehicle is blocking private property according to state law. I think it might be time for a little clarification." Her face turned pale. She fumbled for words as the sheriff wrote a ticket, then proceeded to tow her car. The irony wasn't lost on the gathered neighbors, who had now come out to witness the scene. Gasps, stifled laughter, and whispers filled the air. Karen, who had come to enforce arbitrary rules on me, was now on the receiving end of legal enforcement, and she knew it. As she stomped back and forth, I called out calmly, "I believe this will serve as a friendly reminder that laws and courtesy apply to everyone, Karen." She froze, glancing at the sheriff and the crowd, realizing that her overreach had backfired spectacularly. The tractor remained perfectly parked, and the neighborhood erupted in applause and laughter. By the time the evening settled, Karen had retreated to the HOA office, quietly drafting apologies and revising her approach. The tractor had not only survived but become a symbol of resilience, legality, and the importance of knowing when to step back. The next morning, the neighborhood was buzzing. Word had spread about Karen's car being towed, and residents gathered in small clusters, sharing amused whispers. I walked out to the driveway, brushing my hands on my jeans, and spotted Karen glaring from across the street. She looked every bit the part of someone who had underestimated both the law and the community's sense of justice. I waved casually. "Good morning, Karen. I trust your vehicle is safe at the impound lot." Her lips pressed into a thin line. This, "This isn't over," she muttered, though her usual swagger was noticeably absent. I smiled politely. "Of course not. But perhaps next time, a little research before making threats would help." By mid-morning, the HOA board had convened an emergency meeting. Karen was in full panic mode, attempting to explain the situation, but the narrative had already shifted. Neighbors who had long felt intimidated were now emboldened, quietly siding with me. "Your actions yesterday were excessive," I said calmly during the meeting, presenting copies of the tractor's registration, insurance, and state compliance certificates. I followed all local, state, and HOA regulations. The law supports me, and the community has witnessed the consequences of overreach. Karen stammered, attempting to interrupt. "But the rules," I cut her off gently but firmly. "Rules exist to protect the community, not to bully residents. Threatening fines or removal without legal basis undermines trust and credibility. Yesterday was an example of what happens when assumptions replace facts." Several board members avoided eye contact. I could feel the tension in the room, a quiet acknowledgement that the balance had shifted. The crowd outside murmured, some nodding in agreement, and the message was clear: the community would no longer tolerate arbitrary intimidation. Later, the sheriff returned, this time with Karen's impound receipt in hand. "Consider this a friendly reminder," he said, handing it to her, "that enforcement applies equally to everyone, and legal compliance is non-negotiable." Karen's face paled further. I see," she muttered, unable to form a strong objection. The culmination of the day came when I drove my tractor past the neighborhood park. Children waved, neighbors cheered, and even a few board members offered tentative smiles. The tractor, once a target of petty HOA rules, had become a symbol of fairness, legality, and quiet resilience. One of the neighbors, Mr. Daniels, called out, "Looks like Karen learned her lesson." I nodded, waving. "And hopefully, she won't forget it." That evening, as I parked the tractor back in my yard, I reflected on the events. This wasn't about revenge in the petty sense, it was about asserting boundaries, demonstrating respect for the law, and showing that knowledge and patience could outmaneuver arrogance. Karen had frozen because she faced facts, authority, and community support all at once. At dinner, my spouse laughed softly. "You handled that so well. I can't believe she actually got her car towed." I smiled, pouring a cup of tea. "It's never about anger. It's about strategy, calm execution, and letting the situation reveal itself. The law and truth are powerful allies, especially when used responsibly." Over the following weeks, HOA enforcement notices became more precise, measured, and legal. Karen avoided confrontation whenever possible, and neighbors felt more empowered to speak up when needed. My tractor remained untouched, a shining example of standing firm without aggression. The moral of the story was unmistakable: rules and authority are only meaningful when applied fairly. Misusing power to intimidate others invites consequences, sometimes swiftly and humorously. Patience, proper preparation, and knowledge allow the clever and calm to prevail, protecting what is rightfully theirs while teaching lessons in humility. By the end of the month, the story had circulated quietly throughout the community, shared in hushed conversations and light-hearted laughs. My tractor wasn't just a piece of machinery, it was a statement: respect the law, respect your neighbors, and overreach with arrogance at your own risk. Karen had learned that lesson the hard way, and the neighborhood had witnessed justice delivered with dignity and humor. As I finished my evening chores and glanced at the tractor gleaming under the porch light, I knew one thing for certain: sometimes the quietest victories are the most satisfying, and standing firm with knowledge and patience always pays off.